That night, I slipped into bed, my mind heavy with exhaustion. The room was silent, the kind of silence that feels too thick, too alive. As I turned onto my stomach, I let the sheets drape over me, their warmth pulling me into a false sense of comfort. Then it happened. Something cold grazed the back of my thigh. At first, I thought it was just the fabric shifting, but the touch lingered, slow, deliberate. My breath caught in my chest. A presence leaned close, so close that I could feel warm air against my ear, as if someone was whispering without words. My skin tingled, my heartbeat quickened, and I froze, caught between fear and something far more dangerous. I thought I was alone, but that night proved me terrifyingly wrong. That night, I went to bed just like any other night, never imagining how everything would change once the lights went out. My body was tired, my mind heavy, and I remember collapsing face down into the mattress, letting the sheets gather loosely around my hips. The silence of the room was almost too perfect, so still that even the faint ticking of the clock on my nightstand sounded unnaturally loud. I buried my face into the pillow, stretching one leg lazily to the side, the other bent just slightly, leaving me exposed in a way I didn't even notice at the time. I wanted sleep to claim me quickly, to wash away the stress of the day. My breathing slowed, my body sinking deeper into the mattress. But the moment I thought I was drifting off, I felt it. Something cold brushing against the back of my leg. At first, I thought it was just the sheet sliding down. But then it happened again. A deliberate touch, soft, yet unmistakable, like fingertips gliding slowly up the curve of my thigh. My body stiffened, every nerve alert, my mind refusing to accept what I was feeling. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, an echo of half dreaming. But then came the warmth, a breath, hot, damp, and far too close to my skin. It slid along the back of my neck, making every hair rise as a violent shiver shot through me. My lips parted, a sound caught in my throat, but I couldn't move. The air in the room had shifted. It was heavier now, almost suffocating, filled with an energy I couldn't name. The presence lingered, invisible, yet undeniable. Its touch traced higher, hovering just beneath the thin fabric of my shirt. My heart hammered so loudly it drowned out the silence. The line between fear and something far darker blurred, and I realized with dread that my body wasn't recoiling. It was responding. My pulse quickened, my breath shallow, as though part of me wanted to resist and another part was already surrendering. I froze there, face pressed into the pillow, my body helplessly exposed to whatever this was. I wanted to scream, to reach for the lamp, but all I could do was feel every cold caress, every teasing brush, every impossible sensation. It was as if the night itself had taken form, pressing against me, holding me captive in my own bed. And in that terrifying moment, I knew I was not alone. I tried to tell myself it was just sleep paralysis, that my exhausted mind was creating illusions. But the sensations were too vivid, too precise to be a dream. The touch was still there, light, deliberate strokes, traveling up my thighs, pausing just enough to make my breath hitch before moving again. I could feel the mattress dip slightly, as though someone invisible had settled beside me, close enough for the heat of their body to mingle with mine. My heart raced uncontrollably, thundering against my ribs. Yet I couldn't move. My arms felt like they were pinned, not by force, but by some unseen weight pressing me into the sheets. The coldness of the room clashed with the rising heat spreading across my skin. a confusing, terrifying contrast that left me trembling. Then, I felt it lean closer. Its breath fanned across the back of my ear, so close that I swore I could feel lips grazing me. My entire body jolted, not from pain, but from a sharp pulse of electricity that surged through me. A whimper escaped my throat before I could stop it, betraying the fear and something else that was clawing inside me. The presence shifted lower, its touches exploring, tracing circles over my hips, sliding along the hem of my shirt. My body arched instinctively, an involuntary movement I couldn't explain, as though it had complete control over me. My thighs quivered, tightening, yet when its invisible touch pressed against me, my legs betrayed me, parting ever so slightly, as if on command. Panic mixed with shame. Why am I letting this happen, I thought. But the answer didn't matter. My body wasn't asking for permission. The sheets tangled beneath me as I writhed, caught between resisting and yielding. I wanted to scream, but the sound died in my throat, smothered by the heavy air that filled the room. For a moment, the room went utterly silent. The presence stilled, as if watching me, savoring my helplessness. The anticipation was unbearable. My skin burned from the absence of its touch, desperate and terrified in equal measure. Then, as if sensing my confusion, it returned, fiercer, more insistent. My breath grew ragged. Each brush of its handless fingers sent shivers spiraling through me, awakening sensations I didn't want to acknowledge. My body trembled violently, my legs tightening, toes curling against the sheets. Fear knotted in my chest, but beneath it, something darker bloomed, something I could no longer deny. And as I lay there, exposed, trembling, caught between terror and desire, one horrifying truth echoed in my mind. Whatever this presence was, it wasn't just haunting me. It was claiming me. I couldn't tell where my fear ended and my body's betrayal began. My breaths came in shallow gasps, my chest rising and falling rapidly as the invisible weight pressed harder against me. The air grew thick, charged, as though the entire room pulsed with a heartbeat that wasn't mine. My skin was slick with sweat, clinging to the sheets, yet I couldn't free myself. The presence grew bolder. Its hands, though they weren't really hands, slid across me with deliberate intent. My shirt rode higher, the cool air hitting my exposed skin as if the entity wanted me uncovered, vulnerable. I bit my lip, stifling a cry, but a shiver betrayed me when it traced across my stomach, lower and lower. I wanted to scream, to resist, to demand it stop. But every time I tried, my voice failed me. What left my lips instead was a whimper, trembling with both terror and an unspoken need. My legs trembled violently, but when its touch grazed between them, they opened wider, as though I was no longer my own. The room felt alive, shadows thickening in the corners, the curtain swaying though no breeze entered. The presence wasn't just touching me, it was surrounding me, consuming me, like smoke filling my lungs, like fire racing beneath my skin. Then I heard it, a whisper, low, guttural, almost human, brushing against my ear. I couldn't understand the words, but I felt them vibrate through me, commanding, binding me tighter than any physical chain. My body arched helplessly in response, surrendering against my will. The pressure intensified until I thought my chest would burst. My vision blurred, stars flickering at the edge of my sight, and still I couldn't move. I felt the sheets twist beneath me as the entity pushed me closer and closer to a breaking point I had never known before. And then, silence. Everything stopped. The weight lifted. The touch vanished. The room grew deathly still, leaving me trembling, exposed, gasping in the suffocating quiet. My skin still burned with phantom sensations, my body aching for something I could never admit. Slowly, I turned my head toward the window, my heart hammering, and that's when I saw it, the faintest silhouette reflected in the glass. Not solid, not fully formed, but there, watching me. I blinked, and it was gone. But deep inside, I knew the truth. It hadn't left. It never would. Because whatever that presence was, it wasn't just haunting my nights. It had awakened something inside me I couldn't put back to sleep. And as I lay there trembling in the dark, one horrifying thought consumed me. Tonight, it will return.